Have you ever shared your big plans with everyone around you? Did it feel good at first, like applause and encouragement were fueling your fire? Sometimes the act of telling others before acting quietly drains the very energy you need to succeed. In a quiet valley, tucked between rolling hills, there lived a young woman named Alara. She had ideas that sparkled like stars, visions of great inventions, beautiful paintings, and gardens full of rare flowers. Each week brought a new inspiration. One week, she dreamed of painting a mural across the village hall. The next week, she imagined creating a fountain in the central square. Music. Then she considered starting a small library for children. But Alara had a habit, one that seemed harmless at first. Before starting anything, she would gather her neighbors and speak of her plans aloud. She walked through the village square, her voice bright with excitement. "I will paint the most magnificent mural this village has ever seen." Music cheered. They clapped their hands. They offered praise. Alara felt her chest swell with pride. She felt recognized. That night, she slept with a smile, convinced the work was already half done in the hearts of others. The next morning, when it was time to pick up the brushes and colors, something strange happened. Her hands felt heavy. Her energy was gone. Days slipped by. The mural never began. Instead, she rushed to another idea, the fountain. Once more, she spoke to everyone about her new plan. "I will build a fountain that makes this village shine." Words of encouragement poured in. Alara felt excitement, joy, importance. But again, days passed, and she never touched a single stone. Years went by in the same rhythm. Every idea was announced. Every plan was celebrated. But Alara's hands remained empty, her mind full of frustration, her heart burdened with shame. She could not understand why, despite her dreams and her enthusiasm, nothing ever materialized. One evening, she wandered alone to the edge of the forest, near a hidden pond that mirrored the stars. A gentle, elderly woman appeared, known in the village as Leora. Leora spoke little, but her wisdom was deep, and people respected her silently. She sat beside Alara and asked softly, "Child, why do you carry such heaviness in your heart?" Alara sighed. "I have dreams, many of them, but I never finish. I cannot seem to turn ideas into reality. I don't know why." Leora nodded. "Tell me, when inspiration strikes, what is the first thing you do?" Alara answered quickly, almost ashamed. I tell everyone. I want them to see my vision, to cheer me on. Their praise makes me feel alive." Leora smiled faintly. "Come with me tomorrow," she said. "I will show you something you must understand." The next morning, they arrived at Leora's hidden garden. In her hands were two tiny saplings. She handed one to Alara. "Plant this one in the soil," she instructed. Alara dug a small hole and placed the sapling carefully, covering it with earth. Then Leora took the second sapling, but instead of planting it, she held it high for all to see. "Look, everyone," she called to a few children nearby. "Soon, this will grow into a magnificent tree." The children clapped, their laughter echoing. Leora placed the sapling on a stone and walked away. Days turned into weeks. Leora quietly tended to the sapling in the soil. She spoke no words. She watered it, removed weeds, ensured it had sunlight and shade. Slowly, a tiny green shoot emerged, fragile yet determined. The sapling on the stone, however, shriveled under the sun. Birds pecked at it. It never grew. Alara watched in awe as the hidden sapling thrived. Leora placed a hand on her shoulder. "Alara," she said, "growth demands silence. It needs darkness, protection, and patient care. Share your dreams too soon, and they will wither. Pride replaces effort. Words replace action. People's applause becomes your reward, and your hands forget to work." Alara's heart stirred. She saw her own mistakes reflected in the saplings. Every dream she announced was like the sapling on the stone, exposed, praised, and slowly dying. Every silent effort was like the one buried in soil, growing unseen, unstoppable. That night, Elara returned home with a quiet determination. She chose a simple goal: to craft a wooden box filled with herbs for the villagers. She did not speak of it. She did not gather an audience. She simply began. Music each evening. She carved, sanded, planted seeds, tended the soil, carefully learning from each mistake. Some days she felt tired. Some days frustrated. But no one watched. No one praised. No one pressured her. Only her hands, her tools, and her intent. Weeks later, the box was complete, beautiful, fragrant with thyme and rosemary. Elara held it in her hands, and for the first time, she felt true satisfaction. Not from applause, not from words, but from creation itself. When a neighbor stumbled upon it, they gasped, "This is remarkable! When did you make it?" Elara smiled softly. "I wanted to finish it first." Slowly, word spread. People admired her work, not her words. And by then, Elara had already started her next project. A small bridge across the stream. Music again, she told no one. She worked in quiet focus. Weeks passed, then months. Each creation emerged stronger than the last. Years later, Elara became renowned across the valley. People spoke of her talent, but no one ever knew the path she had walked quietly. Her success was born of silence, patience, and action, not empty praise. She understood finally, words can celebrate, but action builds. Words can inspire, but effort transforms. Now, consider your own dreams. How many times have you shared them too early, watching the spark fade? Music, how many seeds have you left in the open sun? Praised before they were ready? Protect your ideas. Work in silence. Let the world witness only the result. The power is in quiet creation, in patient hands, in action unseen. Music. Next time inspiration strikes, pause. Hold your dream close. Let it grow in the darkness of your effort. When the time comes, the world will marvel, not because you announced it, but because you built it. Elara, over time, discovered something she had never realized before. Each silent project strengthened not only her hands, but also her mind. She became patient with her own time, understanding that haste was the enemy of creation. The ideas that once burned in her mind like fireworks now grew slowly, like roots seeking water deep in the soil. She began keeping a small journal, not to show anyone, but to record her observations. Every mistake, every discovery, every adjustment made in silence became a lesson preserved for herself. One day, while reviewing her notes, she realized that progress was invisible only to the eyes of the world, but each page told stories of silent achievements. Elara decided that her next creations would be even more complex. She built a small wooden bridge across the stream in the valley, not to impress anyone, but to connect paths that had previously been isolated. Every plank, every nail, every careful adjustment required total concentration, a silent dialogue between her hands and the materials. As winter approached, Elara faced cold days where the wood became stiff and her muscles ached. But she persisted, because there were no applause, no external pressure, only the certainty that the work needed to be done. When she finally crossed the completed bridge, she felt a joy unlike any she had experienced before, deeper than any praise she had once sought. Elara also noticed that her creativity flourished in ways she had never imagined when it was kept private. Paintings she had once begun and abandoned were now completed with infinite patience. Gardens she had previously dreamed of became real, with flowers thriving under her careful attention, each petal a testament to her dedication. One afternoon, while walking along the valley, Elara saw a young girl sitting by the lake, drawing patterns in the sand. The girl seemed frustrated. Elara approached and asked gently, "What are you drawing?" The girl replied, "Dreams, but they disappear before I finish them." Elara smiled. "Perhaps you need to learn how to protect your dreams, nurture them in silence, until they are ready to bloom." She led the girl to her hidden garden and showed her the rows of small trees that had grown quietly, unnoticed by anyone. "See these trees? No one cheered for them while they grew. No one praised their leaves. But now they are strong and beautiful. Dreams are like this. First, they need silence. Then, they can be seen by everyone. The girl listened carefully, absorbing every word. Alara realized that part of her journey was not only for herself but also for those life placed in her path. Silence, she understood, was not selfish. It was an act of respect for creation itself. The following summer brought new challenges. Alara began constructing a small greenhouse to cultivate plants that had previously seemed impossible to grow in the cold valley. Each piece of metal, each glass panel, each root planted required planning, patience, and absolute silence. She worked alone, enduring hot days and cold nights, without announcing her intentions. Each completed day was an invisible victory, real and profound. Over time, the villagers began noticing subtle changes. Small paths were connected, abandoned gardens bloomed, and benches of polished wood appeared in thoughtful places. Yet no one knew who was responsible. They simply felt the effects of Alara's quiet dedication. She realized that true transformation does not need immediate applause. Silent effort is far more powerful and lasting. Alara also discovered something astonishing about her own mind. When she did not share her ideas prematurely, they expanded with more depth. Paintings became more intricate, inventions more refined, gardens more lush. The mind, like soil, needed privacy to germinate. Each dream kept in silence became more resistant to storms of doubt and distraction. One morning, while watching the sunrise from a hilltop, she realized she had changed. She was no longer only a creator. She had become a guardian of dreams, a silent architect of reality. Every action carried intention, every movement was deliberate, and every outcome was the result of real effort, not empty words. She began writing letters to herself, not to send, but to plan her future projects. Instead of sharing them with others, she reviewed, adjusted, and perfected them. Each letter was a plan, each plan a seed, each seed a silent future nurtured with devotion. Meanwhile, the young girl she had taught continued to visit the garden. She, too, started practicing the power of silence. And so, Alara's legacy was not just in wood, flowers, and paintings, but in a profound understanding of how dreams grow. She learned that great creations are never born from hasty words, but from patient, unseen, persistent effort. Alara's ambitions grew even larger. One day, she planned to create an amphitheater in the center of the valley where children could play, learn, and share stories. This time, she told no one. Each stone was placed carefully, each step aligned, each bench built with precision. Day after day, the project grew quietly, without applause, without haste, without distraction. As the amphitheater rose, Alara noticed a pattern. The quieter her efforts, the more powerful their impact. The world did not need to know her plans. It only needed to experience the results. She began to understand that words could celebrate, but action truly transforms. Alara started dreaming of even greater undertakings. She imagined pathways winding through the forest, bridges connecting hidden streams, gardens filled with flowers that no one had ever seen. Yet she kept her plans to herself, working diligently, learning to trust the process and not the recognition. Over the years, her creations multiplied. Wooden benches, flower beds, small sculptures, and painted murals appeared throughout the valley, each crafted with intention and care. People admired the results but remained unaware of the painstaking work that had gone unseen. Alara finally understood that real fulfillment comes not from applause, but from the act of creation itself, from seeing one's hands bring ideas into reality. As the years passed, Alara's quiet labor began to weave a subtle magic throughout the valley. She no longer worked for recognition or applause. She worked for the life that each creation could breathe into the world. The gardens she had nurtured began to flourish wildly, their colors blending in unexpected harmony, as if the valley itself responded to her careful, unseen touch. Paths she had built allowed travelers to discover hidden streams and peaceful clearings, places that had been invisible before her careful intervention. Children started to wander into her gardens, discovering the benches she had carved, the flowers she had planted, and the murals she had painted. They did not know who had built these wonders. They only felt the peace, the inspiration, the invitation to explore and imagine. And in that, Alara found a new kind of satisfaction. The joy of knowing that her work mattered without anyone needing to praise it, without a single word spoken about the effort it took to create it. Alara also began to understand that her mind had transformed. Ideas that once flitted away as soon as she spoke them now deepened in her silence, becoming layered and intricate. Every painting had texture and shadow. Every garden had a rhythm, a hidden narrative that whispered to those who entered it. She realized that silence had become her greatest teacher, shaping not only her work but also her soul. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the mountains and painted the sky in hues of pink and gold, Alara sat atop her favorite hill, sketchbook in hand. She realized she had spent a decade building, creating, and refining in secrecy. Yet, looking across the valley, she saw that every effort had left an imprint. Bridges connecting streams, paths winding into hidden groves, trees standing tall where she had planted them years ago, benches inviting strangers to rest, and flowers coloring the air with fragrance. She understood then that the world sees results, not the toil behind them, and that was precisely the way it should be. The young girl who had first visited the hidden garden continued to learn from Alara's example. She began to practice silent creation herself, crafting small sculptures from clay and planting tiny gardens of her own. She asked few questions, seeking no praise. Watching her grow quietly, Alara realized that her work had ripple effects, that the act of creating in silence could inspire others without a word being spoken. Alara also noticed another pattern. Every project she completed in silence gave rise to another, more ambitious idea. Her confidence was no longer fueled by applause or recognition. It came from the steady rhythm of work itself. Each success, though unseen, became a foundation for the next endeavor. Wooden benches gave way to small bridges gave way to gazebos gave way to murals to amphitheaters, and gradually, the valley transformed into a living tapestry of quiet, patient creation. One morning, she decided to tackle a new challenge, designing a system of irrigation to ensure her gardens thrived even in dry seasons. She studied the flow of water through the streams, mapped the contours of the land, and built channels and reservoirs entirely by herself. Not a single villager knew she was doing it, yet the results were profound. Plants flourished, flowers bloomed longer, and the air became fragrant with their health. It was a lesson that sometimes the most meaningful work is done where no one can see it, where the rewards are measured in growth rather than applause. Over time, Alara became aware of an inner shift. Her focus, once scattered by the desire to impress, had become razor-sharp. Her energy was no longer wasted on words or anticipation. Every thought, every motion, every choice was dedicated to the act of creation itself. Her mind had learned the power of concentration, her heart the peace of patience, and her hands the satisfaction of producing something real, tangible, and lasting. She began taking on projects that seemed impossible. She planned a series of wooden staircases that would allow villagers to climb safely to the hilltops. She designed intricate flower beds that drew patterns in the earth only visible from above. She painted murals depicting the valley's stories, each stroke placed with care and deliberation. And with every creation, she kept silent, speaking only when the work was complete. Visitors to the valley began to notice the transformations. They marveled at the beauty, the ingenuity, and the harmony of the surroundings, but they spoke only of what they saw, never of the effort behind it. Alara understood that this was the way of true mastery. The world should witness the fruit, not the labor. And in this, she found freedom because she no longer needed validation to keep moving forward. Alara also discovered that silence nurtured not only projects but relationships. Friends and neighbors came to admire her work, but she no longer felt the urge to announce every plan or seek approval. Her presence was steady, her actions deliberate, and her guidance quiet but impactful. People began to trust her judgment, to rely on her insight, because they saw the results of her dedication, not the chatter of ambition. One day, she invited the young girl, now older, to help her plant a small orchard. Together, they dug, planted, and watered, speaking little but observing each other's hands, learning the rhythm of the work. Alara realized that teaching through action, without words, created a deeper understanding than any lecture or explanation ever could. The orchard grew, season after season, becoming a living testament to patience and quiet effort. Villagers came to pick fruit, enjoying the shade of the trees, unaware of the silent years of labor that made the grove possible. Alara smiled quietly, knowing that the most enduring beauty is built away from the spotlight, in the patient care of those who understand the value of silence. Alara's life became a tapestry of projects, each one feeding the next. She no longer feared failure or disappointment, because she had learned that true achievement does not depend on recognition, but on consistent effort. Each success built confidence, and each challenge was met with quiet determination. She realized that her dreams were no longer fragile. They were rooted in action, patience, and the invisible discipline of silence. Alara's confidence in silent creation only grew stronger as the seasons passed. She began to dream even bigger, considering projects that would stretch her skills and patience in ways she had never imagined. She designed a network of walkways through the valley's densest forests, allowing travelers to explore without damaging the delicate ecosystem. She carefully mapped the paths, marking each curve and slope with precision, yet she told no one. The forest remained untouched, and yet, her vision slowly unfolded through the careful laying of wooden planks and the strategic planting of shrubs and flowers to guide footsteps naturally. As she worked, she noticed a change within herself. The impatience that once had driven her to seek recognition vanished. Her mind became a calm river, flowing steadily, analyzing, imagining, and refining without interruption. Even when the sun burned overhead or the rain soaked her to the bone, she kept working. Not for praise, not for acknowledgement, but because she had learned the most profound lesson. Creation in silence cultivates resilience, mastery, and purpose that applause cannot provide. Alara's gardens expanded to include rare plants, flowers from distant lands that required delicate care. She built greenhouses, irrigation systems, and even small composting areas to sustain the soil naturally. The valley became alive in ways no one had anticipated. Paths meandered among flowering trees, benches offered rest along quiet streams, and murals told stories of seasons, growth, and life, all crafted by her patient hands. Yet she never announced her work, and still the results spoke loudly enough. One morning, she noticed a group of villagers who had wandered into one of her secret gardens. They marveled at the blossoms, the harmony of colors, and the way the air seemed alive with fragrance. None of them knew who had created this sanctuary, yet their admiration and curiosity gave Alara a quiet satisfaction she had never known. She understood finally that recognition was secondary. What mattered was the living impact of her work, the effect it had on those who encountered it naturally. Alara also began mentoring the young girl, now a teenager, teaching her how to observe, plan, and execute silently. The lessons were subtle. She would demonstrate a planting technique or a carving method and then step back, allowing the girl to replicate it without comment. Over time, the girl's confidence grew, and she learned that the reward of creation was in seeing the results manifest, not in hearing praise from others.